皆さん、こんにちは。ヘネです。今日、メダリスト第10号話を見ています。2週間後に大会に出場します。怖くて緊張していますが、同時にワクワクしています。皆さん、見てくれてありがとうございます。What's up everyone, welcome back to the channel and to another video. Today we are watching Medalist, episode 15, so episode 2 of season 2. Last episode, Inori is getting ready to do the block championship. So top 5 from the block get to go to All Japan. So this is a very big deal because she is aiming for her goal of getting to skate against Hikaru. She doesn't get to here because Hikaru decided to not do this one since she can just skate directly in All Japan's since she's so good. Hikaru actually seems to be in Russia working on ballet and all that sort of stuff, so it'll be interesting to see what she's like when she gets back. But Inori is living her dream about a year after skating. Yes, this is fast, but honestly, she's a main character and sometimes people move through things very quickly, especially when they start late. I did want to answer a question that I got in the comments last week. I'm actually going to start trying to read comments a little bit more, so I might be responding a bit more. But this one I actually wanted to answer in the video because I thought it was a good question. And the question was, is the pole harness that they use in the opening something that actually gets used in skating? And I can say yes. I myself, I don't think I've ever actually been put in a pole harness. I've been in many a harness that's connected to the ceiling, and what the regular harness does, it's for when you're first learning a jump. The coach can literally like pull on it and help you like get air time and literally like keep you from falling. A pole harness is for when you are closer to landing the jump because it's completely something that a coach has to hold on to. So many times they won't actually be able to keep you from falling like the harness that's attached to the ceiling does because it doesn't have the same like big, they can just like yank on it and keep you upright. The pole harness does not allow for that. So you actually see some like super high level skaters do pole harness. There's actually a video, I'll put it in the description. It's an interview that they did with Alyssa Liu, and there's actually some shots of her in the pole harness working on a triple axel. So it is a very common thing to be used. The pole harness, even though it doesn't keep you from falling, it does give you this feeling of safety and it can help you fall lighter so that it's not as hard when you're working on that jump. Again, you'll start with the harness that is attached to the ceiling because that one is going to keep you from falling because the coach is not like reliant on their own strength to hold you up. Since it's connected to the ceiling, it just does that. The pole harness is for when you're getting much closer and you need to learn to fall, but you still are getting some guidance with the pole harness. But it is a very real training tool that you see every single day, especially on high-level freestyles. So if you have any other questions for me within the skating world or with my skating journey, put them in the comments. I'll do my best to answer them. But we are gonna dive right in because I'm quite excited for today's episode. I think we're diving right into the competition, so it's gonna be really exciting. But before we do that, don't forget to like the video, subscribe to the channel, and leave a comment your thoughts. Let's get into it. Okay. Guru guru Danish. Danish. Umai, oishi. Wow, okay. Look at me. I can read things. Okay, here we go. Half-eaten food. He's like, here. Another tsukasa. Lots of interesting characters here. Skating first sucks. I don't want to sound like a broken record, but skating first sucks. Okay, so some of you called out. It does look like a rose. That's cool. That's very cool. Okay. Watashi no kado. My card? My cards? My cards. Interesting. Warm-ups can be very confusing for people who don't know what they're looking at. Like, why are all the skaters out at the same time? Rude. Is this gonna be like figure skating 101? That is very true. There are. He's not wrong, because there's literally been times where I've had like parents of skaters that I coach that were like, please explain to me what the difference between a flip and a toe loop is. And I'm like, how do I describe this in a way that would make sense to someone who doesn't know other rules of skating? It is one of those things where it's, unless like you invest your time and money and like you are the fan of skating, the biggest fan of skating, and that's all you pay attention to, it's very hard to explain the rules, because in order to explain the rules, you have to know other rules. You have to know the difference between an inside and an outside edge in order to be able to tell the different jumps apart. And sometimes, like, some people don't understand the difference between an inside and an outside edge unless they get on the ice and feel it for themselves. You can describe all you want about how an inside edge is when you lean to the inside of your skate, and an outside edge is when you lean to the outside of your skate. In theory, that makes sense, but the difference between a flip and a Lutz is just that edge, but it's hard to just see the difference if you don't know like how it feels, if that makes any sense. So it's funny that he's like freaking out, because it's really hard to describe the rules of figure skating to someone who doesn't know it at all, because you just don't know where to start if they don't skate themselves. It's easy to explain it to someone who's learning how to skate, because you have to teach them the rules, but someone who's just like trying to watch for fun, you can get a lot of it, but there is some stuff that's really just hard to explain without putting you out on the ice and showing you. I'm not saying it's impossible, but okay, here we go. Yep. I like how he explained you want to turn all 10 of those elements into one step sequence, because that's the point. You have these 10 elements and they're all scored separately, but you want to make them as cohesive as possible so that it's like all one big step sequence. You will get more points that way. That's a really great way to describe it. See, I'm not a storyteller. What did she just say? Into a single step sequence, yeah. Not necessarily, no. Oftentimes, the one who doesn't fall is the one who wins, but it depends on what jumps they attempt. I can't believe I'm competing in 2 weeks. Not at this level, but okay, here we go. Triplets. Good job, Sakuma. Triple sow. Triple toe. He did it in order from most difficult to least difficult. Axel, Lutz, flip, loop, sow cow toe loop. So I would usually, and I'm getting really in the nitty gritty here as I normally do, if I were explaining to someone who didn't know skating, I would go from easiest to most difficult. I don't know if there's really a right or wrong answer, but normally I would go like, well, he said in order of highest scores it goes. So Axel is the most difficult because there's an extra half rotation, then Lutz because of that darn outside edge. I am a chronic flutzer, and it's really annoying. Then Flip, then Loop, then Saukow, then Tillip. I wonder, it's interesting that they capitalized Axel, Lutz, and Saukow, and I think that's because those are the three that are named after a person, and then Flip, Loop, and Tillip aren't. Interesting. Let's Flip, Loop, Saukow, Tillip. Yep. High risk, high reward. Yep. He's doing so good! Oh, he also, okay. It is like a part of skating. If you skate first, you skate first. I might have to break this part down in a whole separate video because he's doing a very good job at it. But I want to talk more. I'm trying to let it go. You start to get in your head. This sport is very mental. So they're just doing a free skate. But I know they mentioned before that Novice does a short and a free, but this is a free skate. She's done like 5 jumps. Short programs only have 3. So I'm considering making a whole separate video to break down what he said, but everything was perfect, the way he talked about it. Again, it just makes me so thankful we have a show like this because this is the first show I've ever seen that not only gets the details right, that it's like they know the inside of a skater's mind and what happens. When you compete and you go out and you land the most difficult jump, like a good example of this would be someone like Amber Glenn. Okay, so Amber Glenn is really well known for having a very consistent triple axel, which there's only 3 skaters that will be at the Olympics in a couple weeks attempting this. Amber Glenn, Ami Nakai, and Adelia Protogyan. Alyssa Liu might, we'll see, she might surprise us and attempt it, but the triple axel is worth 6-ish points more than a double axel. So in theory, if Amber Glenn were to go out and land that triple axel first thing, you would automatically assume that means that she's gonna win or be on the podium, but she still has 6 more jumping passes. And all of those jumping passes, if she starts to make mistakes, all of a sudden that 6-point gap that she created for herself closes and closes and closes and closes. So when you think about it, you're like, okay, her base value is way higher because she has that 6-point advantage. But I'm using Amber Glenn as an example because she tends to let a mistake or 2 happen later on in the free skate. She oftentimes ends up not quite at the top or on the podium of big events. Like she ended up 5th at Worlds because she tends to nail that opening triple axel and then let like little mistakes creep in here and there that keep her down. While someone who goes out and does a clean, easier program is going to have higher component scores because they didn't make mistakes. Going to have just like better GOEs across the board. It's a more cohesive thing. So doing the difficult elements, high risk, high reward, but you have to like be able to do it all. And that's what makes skating so hard, is that even if you jump ahead of everyone else by doing a jump that pretty much no one else is doing, you still have to be clean. And the Olympics is going to be so interesting because we have so many different players. There's like 6 skaters who could truly be on top of the podium and like 7 or 8 that could be on the podium. So it's going to be a really interesting event, and it could literally just come down to who skates the cleanest. So I have a lot more thoughts. Like I said, I'll probably make a separate video about what he said. I want to keep watching the episode because I want to know what happens next. So she had a fall and she put her hand down on one element. Kiss and cry. Yeah. Being able to sit in a kiss and cry is like randomly a goal of a lot of skaters, is to get to the level where you get a kiss and cry. Good job. Oh, maybe he's not mean. Princess. Hikaru got 98, I believe. 70's a decent score still at their level. Oh, I'm getting chills. This is so exciting. It's like the leader's chair that they have now, too. So first place is really up for grabs. Yeah, make a name for yourself as the winner, which they probably never get to do if Hikaru's usually here. Yeah. That was the girl who was always... Oh. The girl with the blonde hair, like, I feel like every time I see her in something, she's falling. So I kind of saw that coming. Some of those points you can't get back. You just have that mistake now. I was wondering how they were gonna do this with like all the skaters, because I think there's what, 16 skaters or something? I was like, this is gonna take a while to get through all of them. I can definitely tell. I was told that it is the composer for My Hero. I can hear it a lot more this season. It has the same vibes. Even, like, all the spins are so perfectly done with the correct positions to get levels. So they all fell, like, once, I think. It is... Yeah. Like I was kind of mentioning, the sport is so freaking mental because you're out there on your own. Your coach is at the boards, but they can't do anything for you. They can't stop you. You can't take a timeout. You have your 3 minutes, and there's no going back on those mistakes. And for a lot of skaters, because it's so mental, and I mean, like, obviously there's a lot of physical aspect. You have to be physically trained for this, but mental, I would say, is over 50% of being able to be a good competitor. If you can handle the mental stress of competitions, you will be a much better skater over someone who's like maybe a better skater than you, but can't handle the stress, right? When you fall, just in general, but especially on the opening jump, you are now like automatically doing the math of what you've lost, especially if the opening jump is a planned combo, which many times it is, because I think he also said this earlier, you want to do the more difficult elements first, usually because you want to do it when you're least tired. The less tired you are, the more likely you are to land the difficult jumps. The more tired you are, the less likely you are to land those difficult jumps. That's just how it works. It's how our bodies work. So some skaters do put difficult jumps after the halfway mark to get more points because they train in a way that like their stamina is just that good. But most people are going to put the most difficult ones, especially in the free skate, because in these skaters, they fell on their first jump. If it was a planned combo, because that was their very first jump, they can put that combo somewhere else, barring crazy rules that it seems that these skaters do have. So it's very mental. You're doing math on where you can put the combo if it's a combo that you missed. And you're also just like thinking about the fact that you made a mistake, and that can start to seep in. And it can either turn a skater into like they nail everything else from there on out, or it could be a skater that shuts down afterwards. So you have to have the mental fortitude to just leave it in the past and keep going. And that can be very, very difficult, because the moment you make a mistake, especially when it's first, you are overthinking everything. You know you cannot make another mistake. Yeah, that's really difficult. You've got to know the rules backwards and forwards and be able to change things on the fly if things happen. Many coaches have a plan. Oof. Mm-hmm. Last competition we saw her, they are literally, oh my god. I like how their movement is exactly the same. They're literally moving exactly the same. Oof. Yikes. Aww. It's so... The way you qualify for things in skating is so tough too, because so many other sports you qualify by like points you get for everything, every game you play, every competition you do, you just gain more and more points. And like in some situations that's kind of the case. For an Olympic team, they do pay attention to what you've done that season, and usually the better season you've had, even if you have a bad nationals, you might still go. But in these cases where it's these lower levels, it's the same here. You compete in sectionals. Your entire season and your possible dreams are crushed just because you maybe had one iffy competition, or, you know, it's cutthroat, and it's so tough because it's just, there really is just no room for error in this sport, but there always is error because it's such a difficult thing to be able to do. We are having to sprint for 3 minutes straight while doing jumps and spins, and also have to make it look pretty. You get more points the prettier it looks. There is nothing that compares to how mentally and physically demanding this sport is. And we're seeing it firsthand with the show. They're capturing this so well. You go to these events with these dreams of going to nationals, of going to the Olympics, and there's always next year, especially for these skaters who are in Novice A, so they're like 10, 11, 12, right? But you feel this like, I have to do this now. I want to do this now. And all it takes is one bad skate out of 10 good ones. But if the bad one is at the qualifying event, then you don't go anywhere. And it's so cutthroat because you see, I remember when I was competing 10 years ago, there was one skater, she was just like the skater of the level I was in. Like everyone thought she was going to go on to nationals, win the entire thing. She was a hard worker. She had her triples, like she was so good. But at regionals, which was at the time you went to regionals and then you went to sectionals and then you went to nationals, this is like, if they finish top 5 here, they go to nationals, and regionals isn't a thing here anymore. You go straight to sectionals. She fell apart at regionals and did not even qualify for sectionals. And I don't think she ever got to nationals again. I think that was like the start of the end of her career, because it's so demanding on your psyche when stuff like that happens, when you're doing so well. But at these levels, there's no body of work. It's what you can do on the day. She probably doesn't have, she doesn't get to train enough. She must live in the countryside or something. And that is a very real thing too. Is this the skater who was introduced last season? I feel like she was already introduced. She's not one of the new ones. I could be misremembering though. So we have fun music this time. A lot of skaters start with a double axel, like the easiest one, just to warm up and feel good. You know you're gonna hit it. But if you miss it randomly, that makes it even worse. Double flip, okay. Oh, is she doing, okay. So she's doing the triples after the halfway mark. I would assume that in this level, I know they mentioned that they have to do like a loop, flip, and lutz. I would imagine it can be either double or triple. Usually that's kind of how it works. Like senior level short program must have an axel, but it can be a double or a triple axel. A lot of levels like intermediate novice have to have an axel, but it can be a single or a double, that sort of thing. So my assumption would be, even though they must do a loop, flip, and a lutz, they can do a double or a triple. So I'm wondering if she is doing, let's just find out. Yeah. It's a strategy. High reward if done well, but even bigger risk. It's a very tough strategy. You have to be in top form. I have my 2 easiest jumps. Well, not 2 easiest, but my most difficult jumps are at the very beginning of my program. I just get them out of the way. All right, triple loop with her hand down. Okay. So just some negative GOE. It's not the worst. This is not the kind of event I'd want to watch. I hate to see so many skaters make mistakes like this. Yeah, that's the risk. She's already lost a crap ton of points though, so. Triple lutz, double axel, nice, okay. Does she have one more jump so she can? There you go. So you used to be able to put all of your jumps in the second half if you wanted to, but a couple skaters kind of use that to their advantage, so they changed the rules. In the free skate internationally, you can only get a bonus on the last 3 jumping passes. If I was counting correctly, she did 4 after the halfway mark. So unless Japan lets novice A skaters get a bonus for all jumps. I know like in the US, once that changed internationally, all of the judging changed here. So I have, how many jumping passes do I have? 6. I can only put 2 after the halfway mark that will get a bonus. It doesn't mean I have to put only 2 after the halfway mark. It just means that only 2 will get the bonus. So I don't know if that's just different in Japan or if I miscounted. I could have miscounted, honestly. That's very dangerous. I'm gonna have to wait till next week to watch Inori, aren't I? She still managed to be in first? Okay. Even with the 2 mistakes, but that's what it means to still put those combos after the halfway mark. Those extra points build up. So now these skaters are, and she's out. Is he giving flowers to every skater or just every skater from their rink? I feel like that's a plot point that seems to be important. I knew it. I knew I had to wait till who knows how long before Inori skates. I have a feeling it's going to take a while because I think this whole entire season is going to be mostly following that. So that was episode 14, or episode 2 of season 2. They really nailed explaining not just some of the rules, but also a lot of the mechanics of what goes on inside a skater's brain and everything. Like, good job, Sekoma. He understands a lot. He gets it. So I'm still considering doing a little bit more of a breakdown of some of the skaters. I don't know if I'm going to be able to. I'm a lot busier at work than I was last time. So when I finish work, instead of like having the energy to record after work, I'm like, I need to go sleep. I also have to go to the rink after work a lot now too, because I am competing in 2 weeks. So, we'll see. But I think I kind of got the point across. I was mostly just agreeing and continuing on explanation of what he was saying. So this is a really interesting event. It's very high intensity as expected. This kind of stuff this makes me feel like, not dread is not the right word, but just like this feeling of this is going to happen to me soon because I'm going to sectionals, adult sectionals. Like, I'm trying to get to adult nationals, which is very different than regular nationals. But I'm going to adult sectionals in the beginning of March, and I'm trying to qualify for nationals. Top 4 go. Last year there were 18 skaters in my level, and 4 go to nationals. So my current strategy is go clean. I have a slightly easier base value. Like I mentioned, I only have single axles planned. I don't have any double jumps planned, but I actually did a few double sows the other day and they were pretty good. So we might put that one in for sectionals just to bump up my base value, but only if I'm landing them and they're all the way around, because that's the other thing is I tend to under-rotate a little bit, so it's really not worth it to even do an under-rotated double sow because the point difference between a double and a single is not as big of a difference as the point difference between like a triple and a double. So what that means is for a senior or like a novice level skater to do a triple sow over a double sow, the difference is like 4 points. But for a skater to do a double sow over a single sow, the difference is less than a point. So at my level, it really is more, you want to aim for cleanliness over going for the difficult jumps because the point difference is not as big than like the difference between a double and a triple jump. So we'll see. I think I might want to try to put a double sow in for sectionals, but it kind of depends on how my competition goes in a couple weeks, what I score. Do I skate it clean? Do I need to work on something else? Are my spins good? That sort of thing. So we'll see how it goes. But this is definitely like getting me pumped for my skating, but also very like, I can't believe I'm getting myself into this. What am I doing? Why am I doing this to myself? I love it. It's because I love it. It's hard to explain. It is terrifying. It is nerve-wracking. It is when you go out to compete and you're taking your starting position, usually you're like, why do I like this so much? Why do I do this to myself? But there is something about it that we just can't help. I was trying to explain it to my husband because he was confused why I wanted to compete when every time he ever saw me compete, I was like a ball of nerves. And he was like, you only seem stressed. Like, there's no way you can enjoy that. And I'm like, I don't know what it is, but I still love it. I swear there's something wrong inside our brains if we're figure skaters. We picked like the most difficult sport ever that some people try and say isn't a sport at all, which is absolutely insane. Anyway, this was a really great episode, really exciting. They did such a good job at explaining some of the details, truly. I said when I was reading the manga, so if you missed it, because not as many people saw my manga reviews, it truly feels like this show and this story is a love letter to figure skating. I think the difference between Medalist and a lot of other shows with skating is that skating in this is not just a backdrop for a different story. This story is about skating. Yes, Inori is the main character and it is about her, but the heart of the show is the skating. Even something like Yuri on Ice that got the details for the most part correct, skating felt still more like a backdrop to a different story about like Yuri and Victor. Medalist feels like there is still the story about Inori and Hikaru and all the other skaters, but the main plot is the skating. So I think that's probably why I enjoy it so much, because they really took their time and are working so hard to get the details correct. So I've been yapping for almost 50 minutes and I still have to edit and get this posted today. So I'm gonna end the video there, but thank you so much for watching today's video. If you liked it, don't forget to like the video, subscribe to the channel, and leave a comment your thoughts, and I will see you all next week. Mata ne!